my share of addictions and battles to overcome. And everything happens for a reason, but I'm stronger now that I won. This is speakeasy philosophy. It's a journey to recovery for you and me. Silent E.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I said it once, I said it twice, I said it in the name of Jesus Christ. Welcome to my channel. I'm your host. I'm Silent E. This channel is about sobriety. Just that plain and simple. It's about people that want to live a sober life. If you want to be encouraged, you come to the right channel. If you want to be helped, you come to the right channel. If you want to seek spiritual counseling, you come to the right channel. Because this is a Christian sobriety channel. It was created out of necessity. It was created because it was needful. It was created to help people. Have you ever been so paralyzed, traumatized by fear? You couldn't move to the left, you couldn't move to the right, you couldn't move backwards nor forwards. Why? Because fear is crippling. Fear will stop you from being the person who you desire to be. Fear will stop you from conquering your drug addiction. Fear, it will stop you from reaching your full potential. We heard it thousands and thousands of times about the fight or flight mode. You either stand there and knuckle up and fight, or you get in the wind. It's that simple. But your motivation, or you being motivated by that very thing that's paralyzing you, by that very thing that's hindering you, by that very thing that's crippling you. I'm talking about fear. I know what it is to be afraid. I was an alcoholic for over 30 plus years. I know what it is to be afraid. You can lie to yourself time and time and time again about I can quit at any time. That's the fear inside of you. But it's always a bigger question. There's always a bigger question. Do you have a problem, or are you the problem? Let me say that again. Do you have a problem, or are you the problem? I went through so many years of my life believing the whole world was at fault. The whole world was the problem, and I just happened to be living in it. But the progression of time showed me, and I had to learn this, that I was the problem. Why? Because I did not want to quit alcohol. I did not want to give up my device because of fear. Fear would not allow me to see myself as an addict. Fear has polarized my condition, and I no longer believe I possess the option to become clean and sober. Yes, I was a skeptic. I was one of those guys that went to meeting after meeting and heard miracle after miracle, and I just didn't believe because of fear. Fear engulfed me to the point that I did not believe that I could be like one of those guys holding a 30-day chip, a 90-day chip, a 1-year chip. In other words, I believed that I was beyond redemption, and sobriety was beyond my grasp. And those under the sound of my voice, if you believe that you're beyond redemption, if you believe that you're not worthy of being clean and sober, this channel is for you. In the Bible, man came to Jesus on the behest of his son. He pleaded with Jesus to heal his son. And Jesus told him all things are possible if you only believe. The master came to himself and said, Lord, I believe, but please help my unbelief. That's all this channel is about. Strengthening your hand in belief that you may turn away from your unbelief, that you may put down the needle, that you may put down drugs, that you may put down that brown paper bag. That's all this channel is. We're going to encourage you week in and week out to be the best version of you. But it has to start with your belief. What do you believe? What is your doctrine concerning drugs? What is your doctrine? What is your theology concerning alcohol? What is your belief? That's all I'm asking. It's quite simple. What is your belief? If you believe you do not need help, you're absolutely right. You don't need help. If you believe you can do this by yourself, you absolutely right. You can do this by yourself. For those who have reached the end of their rope, for those who are sick and tired of being sick and tired, for those who are truly seeking resolution, you're listening to the right channel.
Alcoholism does more than affect our families, our jobs, and our social life. It affects everything, including our health. This is the Speakeasy Philosophy Podcast with Silent E, a podcast for the alcoholic looking for information, for guidance, and solutions. Your host is dedicated to helping you move beyond your addiction, finding your way back to health of mind, body, and spirit. Relax and listen. Here's your host, Silent E.
Jesus said all things are possible if you only believe. The man shouted, Lord, I believe, but please help my unbelief. This part of the message I wrestle with. I want to give you actual factual knowledge how to move beyond your addiction. But in the same token, I want to introduce you to the spiritual realm to make sure you move beyond your addiction. Those that know the words of prayer, please pray that I stay on topic, that I don't veer to the left nor the right, give you substance to empower you over your addiction. He said, Lord, I believe, but please help me in my unbelief. As addicts, we're standing at the same crossroads as this man. We believe that we know better. We believe that we can do better. We believe that we deserve better. But better never comes because of our unbelief. Let me take a few minutes to minister to my people. As addicts, we understand the functions of all the programs. We know the 12 steps by heart. We have the plaques on our walls. We even receive the chips and the dips. But how many of us know that those are just accolades and awards of outer expressions, not really signifying what's going on internally with the addict? Not just the addicts, but there's a war going on inside of all of us. And this war has been raging since time began. It's the war of the head versus the heart. The head or the mind believes everything you plant inside of it. But it's the heart that germinates the root of bitterness, the root of dissension, and the root of doubt. This is the unbelief that I speak of. Imagine, if you will, at the end of every conversation you have, people can see the intent of your heart. They can see the root of bitterness, the root of dissension, the root of doubt. In other words, they can see the disconnect between your head and your heart. When Jesus said all things are possible if you only believe, at that moment he was actually looking inside the man's heart. The man had enough wherewithal to say, Lord, I believe, but just in case, please help me in my unbelief. Just in case, please help me with my doubtful heart. Just in case, please help my mind and heart get on the same page. This is why you always hear me say, please examine your heart. The life of addiction, the life of an addict, is filled with hypocrisy and lies because I only cared about me. I was a functioning alcoholic. I went to work every day and I paid the bills, and I thought that's all I had to do. I thought that was all acquired of me. So I spent 30 plus years of my life disconnected from society, disconnected from a wife, kids, and family, because I believe they had the problem, not me. Once again, we're faced with that same question. Do you have a problem, or are you the problem? So every day I woke up, I was practicing to be miserable. Every day I woke up, I was practicing to be an alcoholic. Every day I woke up, I was practicing in my addiction. Why? Because if the truth be told, my addiction meant more to me than everything in this world. My addiction meant more to me than my marriage, my family, my friends, my job, my career. That's how much my addiction meant to me. Shakespeare said, to thine own self be true. Believe me when I tell you, I've been in the same seat you sitting in. I told them same lies. Until your mind is made up, you're going to be in the same place you always been. going nowhere fast. In the Bible, the man went to Jesus on the behest of his son, seeking a healing because he believed that Jesus had the power to heal his son. After he made his request known, Jesus said, I can heal him. Yes, I can. All things are possible if you only believe. The father said, I believe, but please help, Lord, help my unbelief. What resonates with me the most about this story is in life, everything is contingent on what we believe. As an addict, I spent so many years of my life believing that I was in control of my life, believing that I could stop drinking at any time, believing that the party was going to last forever. But how many people know that it wasn't truly me, but the endorphins inside of me was laying all the groundwork to which I believed? It wasn't until I became spiritually motivated. It wasn't until I became spiritually mature. It wasn't until I began seeking the heart of God that my life began to turn around. I began a spiritual inquiry, a journey of putting my heart and mind on the same page. Once I realized my mind was telegraphing what I believed and my heart was a cauldron of unbelief, that's when I decided to roll up my sleeves and do all the necessary work to get my mind and heart on the same page. I would love to tell you that it was a quick fix or an overnight project. The truth of the matter, it was very long and tedious. Days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months and months turned into years. But I had to weed out the root of bitterness, the root of contention, and the root of unbelief. On this path of discovering who I was, this self-proclaimed healing journey, I learned more about myself than I ever knew. The root of bitterness was more than what I bargained for. I found myself being tongue-lashed by an 8-year-old boy that was still upset because he did not receive a Rock'em Sock'em robot for Christmas. That fight went on like two heavyweight contenders until the wee hours of the night. And if that wasn't bad enough, I was regaled by an 11-year-old boy complaining about his life was so miserable because he grew up in a household full of women that was driven by their emotions, and he wasn't emotionally charged, so he felt like an enemy of the state. The longer we fought, I realized neither opponent go come out of this fight unscathed. Philosophically speaking, I knew I have to revisit this camp again. So I picked myself up, dusted off my britches, and made my way to the root of contention. There I was met by this 6-year-old boy who was sitting on his grandmother's porch, eating a candy apple. He was pointing at the stoop, ushering me to sit down. Once I obliged him, he began telling me that that was the first stoop that he ever sat on when his mother dropped him and his sisters off to be raised by their grandmother. In the midst of telling me his story, he began to cry. So I asked him, why was he crying? He mustered up all the courage he could just to stop crying. He leaned over, whispering in my ear, my story stops here. I'm crying for you. I'm crying because you have to live a lifetime of abandonment issues. His words echoed in my spirit to the point I became detached. I really didn't know how to register in my mind what he said. Exhausted by this whole ordeal, but I knew I had to go a little further. I knew I had to dig up the root of unbelief. I don't know how much time passed, but I kept digging. I don't know how much time passed, but I kept digging. I don't know if I was having an inner-body or out-of-body experience, but I kept digging because I had to get to the root of unbelief. Therefore, I dug, and I kept digging until the calluses on my fingers I could no longer feel. And finally, I dug into the root of unbelief, and I couldn't believe what I saw. Every immoral thing that I have ever done laid at the base of this root. Could you imagine a treasure chest filled with a lifetime of nefarious deeds? This is what my life has become? How was this possible? Growing up in church, I remember, as far as the east is from the west, God throws away our sins and remember them no more. But how is this possible? Here lies a treasure chest of every unprincipled thing I have ever done. Then all of a sudden I was quaking in the spirit, and the spirit began showing me that the root of bitterness is when you love all the wrong things and you hate the right things. Then how is it possible to remove this very root from my heart? Once again, the spirit apprised me that it's impossible for me to remove these roots, that the indweller that dwells inside of me shall remove the roots as he see fit. Now I have more questions than answers. How is it possible for me to have a heart that's continuously wicked and a mind that believe? How can I put them on the same page? Once again, the Spirit assured me that the indweller moves into a wicked house and cleans it as he see fit. In other words, our job is to invite the indweller into our wicked heart. And once he moves in, he rearranges the furniture as he see fit, taking out those things which are not spiritual and adding to our faith daily. Lord, I believe, but please help me with my unbelief. Spiritually, I would love to tell you that I overcame all the roots, but that'd be too far from the truth. Throughout the years, I visit them boys on a daily basis because this is a lifetime process, because I still struggle with the root of unforgiveness. I still struggle with the root of contention and the root of unbelief. He said, Lord, I believe, but please help my unbelief.
Thanks for listening. We are so glad you've connected with us today. We are not only here to encourage you, but to offer you resources and solutions. See our website, speakeasyphilosophy.com, for a coaching program designed to assist the alcoholic in their road to recovery. We would love to help. You can also find us on social media by searching the Speakeasy Philosophy Podcast. Check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, with love, speak easy to yourself.